Hello and welcome back to the Sales Pulse. It's a podcast. It's a podcast about sales. I'm Marla Koupal, your sales conversation, curating, selling common sense. Today we're going to dive into something that I think is simple, timeless, but let's be honest, it's pretty darn practical. The 3 C's of success: competence, confidence, and consistency. But because I can never resist stirring the pot, I'm going to add a 4th C to the mix. One you probably weren't expecting, and it's not complicated, it's not fancy, it's just plain old common sense. Yes, we are going to go there. But first, let's start with competence. It means to perform effectively. When you're new in sales, it feels like everyone has sales conversations figured out. You join a new sales team and they sound so smooth. You go, oh my gosh, will I ever be there? What are they doing? What's their secret? They seem to have the right words ready all the time. And you wonder, can I ever do that? How do they do that? Well, here's the secret. They can't even tell you this. It's not the gift of gab, it's the gift of listening. Sales competence is grown with practice. And competence in selling isn't about being quick on your feet or clever with lines. It's about slowing down, listening to what the buyer is really saying, hearing the emotions on their side, hearing the details that they are sharing that are extraneous to maybe something you've ever understood before yourself. And then you're going to respond with clarity to the buyer. You're not going to make assumptions, but you do need to hear what they're saying and what their needs are. For example, let's say a buyer says, I've tried a few different software systems before, but none of them really stuck or seemed to work out. Well, your assumption might be to jump in and say, oh, well, ours is different. How do you know? Let me tell you why you don't want to jump in. When you're working from competency, you will say, tell me more about what didn't stick. Now you get down to the nitty gritty. That's the one question that shows you're paying attention. And it gives the buyer the space to reveal their frustrations, their celebrations, their distress, where they felt they were successful, and just their overall focus. Now you grow your eloquence when you respond to the buyer instead of giving them canned, slick answers. Competence is performing effectively so that a conversation can continue. Get into a pattern of listening that supports your sales conversations and creates an experience in which you feel competent. Now, once you have competency, that's when confidence shows up. Confidence is what happens when competence grows. As soon as you feel rooted in a level of competency, you're going to feel ready for more. When you put in the reps at the gym, it gets easier, doesn't it? When you've stumbled 3 times and you stumble no more, you have confidence. You've survived. Somewhere along the way, you realize, oh, hey, I actually do this. I'm one of those people I used to admire when I started on a new sales team. Confidence is not about being the loudest or the flashiest person in the room. It's not about steamrolling your buyer like a Mack truck with all this stuff that you think they need to know. Real confidence is being steady, calm, and focused on the buyer. It's the kind of presence that says, I'm here to grow your trust in your choices and hold a pressure-free conversation so you can find the solution you are looking for. And here's the kicker. When you have confidence, objections, which are actually just the buyer's unanswered questions, they're telling you that they've not justified the purchase or that they still have an outstanding question, stop feeling scary. The buyer's questions just become curious checkpoints for you to reflect, ask more questions, and go deeper into what the buyer is trying to say or saying they still need to hear. Confidence is like your inner cheerleader whispering, "You got this." Except in sales, it usually sounds more like, "Don't panic, just ask another question." Once you have competence and confidence, you're going to feel the energy to bring consistency to everything you're doing. So the third C is consistency. Competence got you started. Confidence kept you moving, but consistency keeps you in the game. Here's what I mean. Anyone can follow up. Anyone can send a good email. Anyone can show up with enthusiasm on Monday mornings. But the sellers who win are the ones who follow up again and again and again. Without feeling annoying, without being pushy, they're just steady, curious, calm, and present with the buyer. They're not trying to check off a to-do list. They're really trying to reconnect. Consistency is actually the silent CEO of your sales business. It oversees everything. It builds your reputation. It makes you reliable and trustworthy in the buyer's eyes. And it's the little stuff, keeping your word, following up when you said you would, showing up with the same energy in your 10th conversation as you did the first day you met this buyer. I think some of us might say consistency is like flossing. Everybody claims they'll do it, but the ones who really do it, they're the ones making sales and smiling more. Now, here's my bonus round. There is actually a fourth C. I like to be a little quirky like this, and every once in a while throw you a zinger. The fourth C is common sense. If you think about it, what good is competence, confidence, and consistency if you don't have common sense? The common sense is to use competency, confidence, and consistency to get where you want to go. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a seller push a $300 skincare kit on someone who's never even used moisturizer. They don't own it. They've never thought of using it. Quite a leap, isn't it? Common sense in sales is once again listening to what the buyer is feeling, saying, and sensing. It's paying attention to where their focus is, not yours, the seller. It's aligning your offer with their real need instead of bulldozing through your agenda. And here's the funny part. Common sense is what most buyers are craving. You could stumble and bumble over your words. They're still going to crave your common sense. They want someone who will just get them, understand them, and try not to sell them a snow cone in a blizzard. Technically, you can sell snow cones in a blizzard. But why? Common sense says if you ignore the buyer, lose the sale. But the other part of that common sense is reverse that. Pay attention to the buyer, make the sale. So there you have it, the 3 C's: competence, confidence, and consistency. And the one I can't resist sneaking in, common sense. So here's a challenge for the week. I do this at the end of every podcast. Which C do you need most in your sales right now? And if you leave out competence, you can't have the other 3. So first of all, what are you doing to sharpen your competence that will build your confidence? What are you practicing that is also building your confidence so that you can build your consistency? Are you leaning a little more into common sense to be situationally aware? That's what sales is about. The secret to selling is to always being situationally aware and flavoring your conversations with the mood and the tone of the buyer. So I want you to send me a message or share your answers in comments. I really love to hear from you. It helps me provide you with greater information, deeper insights, and I'm always curating more stories for selling common sense. Be sure to share your stories, what worked, what didn't work, and let's pull together and create more podcasts that will be helpful for you. So this has been the Sales Pulse. podcast. And remember, sales fluency is built one clear, bold conversation at a time using your competence, competence, consistency, and common sense.